call State Tribal Relations Committee meeting in Rocky Boy for June 17th. We'll have a roll call.
Chair Tyson Runningwolf.
Here.
Vice Chair Gail Lammers.
Excused.
Representative Lynn Bennett.
Excused.
Representative Shelley Fayette.
Here.
Senator Josh Kashmeyer.
Excused.
Representative Terry Nelson.
Here.
Representative Curtis Schomer.
Excused.
Representative Jade Suktis.
Excused.
Senator Susan Weber.
Here.
Senator Jacinda Morgeau.
Excused. There won't be too much business on our side being done today because we don't have a quorum, but we're definitely here to listen and be part of your community today. I'll turn it over to you for your guys' prayer and any introductions, and then we'll go do our introductions to you folks. And then you'll have to talk into that mic. How should I be presenting myself to you?
Representative.
All right, and then how about yourself to me? Boss man?
No. Yeah, Ty Watson, member of the Chicago Free Business Committee. I was an educator for 33 years, and I'm glad to welcome you folks here.
Thank you.
Joseph Rosette, football team.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Vice Chair Rosette. I appreciate it. I always love coming down to Rocky Boy on all my great adventures. And so I'll turn it over and start with Representative Nelson.
Terry Nelson from the Bitterroot from Stevensville, and my first time to Rocky Boy. Thank you for having us here. Appreciate it.
Susan Weber. I am Blackfeet, and I represent Senate District 8, which runs from Glacier County all the way to Missoula County, and I represent 2 Indian tribes, the Blackfeet and Confederacy.
Okay. Kasitsan Mansana po Nistu Tyson Runningwolf, House Representative for House District 16, also the State Tribal Relations Chair.
Esquexpecia. Good morning, everyone. My name is Shelley Fayette. I'm Bitterroot Salish from Arlee. I represent House District 91, which is parts of Missoula, Lake, and Sanders County.
Thanks for hosting us. This is, excuse me, I got up super early to drive down this morning. No. But it's always a pleasure for us to come down and visit all the tribes. This is our third visit. We went to Fort Flathead, Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe. We came to Blackfeet. Then we also came here to Rocky Boy. It's our third visit stop during our tour, during the High Line for this year. And then tomorrow we're going to go to Fort Belknap. And during these tours, we try to get a little bit of business done on our side, but then we also want to definitely hear what the tribes have to say. And this is pretty much your time with us, and whatever you folks want to bring up, we'll definitely take it back and try to make it a priority. And so happy to be here, and thank you for hosting us. And
I have one issue right off the bat. I'm gonna bring it up. I got a bunch of relatives in Salish, Arlie, Lenny Two Teeth, and all of his crew. I'm related to him, and he was telling me about the water compact for Salish. Now there's some pushback in the Senate, House, and Helena, trying to terminate tribes over that. They have a big Republican, I think it's next week in Missoula. Last week, and they brought it up. They're trying to terminate tribes over that compact. But every year we go through this. Try to terminate us because of the color of our skin. That's all it is. Nepotism and running rampant up there. Their partners, they're getting their wives and girlfriends and jobs and all of that. That just doesn't sit right with me. Lenny was telling me what is going on over there. So we got your Salishes back, and I'll bring this up at tribal leaders too. I'm going to bring this up in tribal leaders.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Fine.
Thank you. Yeah, so every month, the Lake County Commissioners, there's 3 white men, they have a meeting with the legislators. And I was late getting on the meeting because I was driving. Senator Jacinda Marshall told me that she texted me when I was driving back from my meeting, and she said, Representative Tracy Sharp was calling it the Water Confiscation Act.
Yep.
And how he hoped that there was a bunch of lawsuits against the water compact. What they don't understand, and this starts at the county level, is they don't understand that the water compact is between the feds, the state, tribes. Counties have nothing to do with it. And so we've been fighting that all along. And my very first week in the legislature in 25, one of the representatives across the aisle made a false comment about the water compact. Tyson was push a button. And, I was like a newbie there. I didn't know what to do, but I had to correct the record and let them know that we negotiated that compact for 40 years, 4 decades. And, a lot of the elders that were intricately involved in that, every meeting, they passed away before it was finalized. And when I got on tribal council, I served from 2014 to 2021 on the council, and we tasked our legal department with getting it through the state. It didn't pass the first time. One of our biggest opponents, once we educated him about it, he carried it in the next session in the House. And so then we it went to the federal level, and we spent so much time, resources, trying to get it through OMB, and we hosted a lot of representatives, senators, everybody. I don't know if you guys know Ryan. He was one of our attorneys. Well, him and his crew, they took people on tours and they showed the disrepair that it was in. But there's fish kills, everything, because it was so old. And so we got it through the federal. Originally, Senator Tester carried it when he was in the majority. That it didn't pass. So then, when Senator Daines was in the majority, he got it through, and it was honestly a Christmas miracle. It was in December, I think it was 7th of 2021, and I happened to be the chairwoman of the tribe at that time. And we said, we got a pass, and we had all but given up on it, because there's so many times. But yeah, what the county doesn't understand is they're not at the table for this much. And a lot of it stems from when we purchased the former dam. That was the first year I was on council, and the previous owners, this is kind of power, went through, I think, 3 owners, and then it was Northwest Energy. The county asked us if we were going to pay them payment in lieu of taxes like the previous owners had. We thought about it and we said, we really don't have to legally. And so we're not going to. And so they've been mad at us ever since. And honestly, it was less than $2 million. But we did leave the door open and said, if the schools or the county has a particular project that you want funded by the tribe, bring us that project and we'll consider it. Not once did it doesn't come through, because we want to specifically spend on hitting kids in the schools or something that would benefit both the county and the tribe, and they never want to. So last week there was that meeting, and both Senator Cinda Margeau and Shane Margeau and myself were on, and they were just spewing racist comments. It was so awful. Talking about the water compact, about they couldn't believe that Judge Amy Eddy won in Lake County, just all kinds of things. And I raised my hand. We were on the Teams app. They never called on me. It just got so bad I had to jump off. It's awful.
Yeah.
But that's what we go through every day on reservation. We always have to be at the table. Yeah, and so during the Republican convention last week, there were a couple things. One was they wanted to on the L reservation.
Yep.
It was about the fact that there was a lot of lawsuits in it, and it just got settled, and the water court almost anyway, everything was settled, and that came out in the newspaper like 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
So yeah, that's life on the island.
Yeah. So I figured it was over that water compact. Thank you for that enlightenment, and we'll support you guys any way we can.
That's good.
Okay, any of the council got anything for us?
Yeah, I do, actually. I got one thing I'd like to bring up is,
Can you hit your button there, Ty?
yeah, again?
Is it on green?
Yes, it is.
All right.
I just got wind of it, and I'm looking at it right now. There's Head Start funding, because it provides a lot of services to our most vulnerable people, and that's our young people. And we'll go back and we'll do what we have to do to provide those services. But that is a concern of mine, because being in education for 33 years and seeing the impact it has on kids coming up and being ready for school, that's one of my concerns. Thank you.
I've got one also, Medicaid for all. It's always an issue, it seems like every year, so. What, you guys know the status of it right now, or? Is it okay, or it's in danger every year, seems like?
Anyone want?
I'll start.
Yeah, go ahead, Representative.
So, we last session, that was our biggest win. Was removing the sunset of the Medicaid expansion. Back home, we still hear a lot of problems about people that got kicked off the recertification process. And last week, notified that I think there was 40 new people that were hired for that process out of the couple thousand people that DPH funds. So a big concern on my reservation, what I'm hearing from my constituents is that a lot of people don't have a computer or internet or email to be doing the paperwork, or maybe they're not going to sit on the phone for 8 hours on hold, which, has actually happened. And, there's not like caseworkers or people out in the community to help elders or handicapped people, or even, my granddaughter, I found out last week, my granddaughter who has lung issues is in the hospital and she finally got approved in May, but it's not going to cover her April hospital bill. But I did find out there is an appeals process. So I think the Rural Health Transformation Bill or program is supposed to help some of that, but I have yet to see what that's going to. I think there's an American Health Leaders Summit going on as we speak. So hopefully they'll come back with some big news about that, because they honestly like they out in them, they have set aside our consultation was kind of after the fact, and they said they only had 6 weeks together the Montana proposal for that. So tribes are kind of left out with this process.
Like, God.
Luke, you want to hit that button there so we can be heard?
I said that's one of our chairman's biggest worries, and he always brings it up when he meets with you guys in consultation between the state and the tribes, and decisions are already made before we even get to say anything. It's really not no consultation. I don't know what their definition of consultation is, but it don't match our definition. That's his big worry, so I'll bring it up for him.
Yeah. Councilman Rosette, is there any people any of your community that's been reaching out and saying they've had some hard times or been kicked off or went through the appeal process?
Not really, not to me specifically, but they may have to the health people at the admin health board. So.
That's something that we were hearing too, is that we haven't really heard it, but some stories of people that have not been able to make it through the system to be reinstated, or some, how hard it was to get through different parts. And then also that provider rate. And are you guys collecting on that provider rate from the tribe? And is it adequate, or is it still at that 2018 level? That's kind of some of the things that we're kind of hoping to know and to cover.
Tyson, I gotta call somebody up here. Boy, I hate to call him up here. Joel. You'll have
I always love listening to Joel because he does have all the numbers and facts and figures. Joel, I think there's a spot right over there too for public comment. Yeah. I was trying to get it front and center, but I didn't want to disrespect anybody. I've been known to do that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I think with this whole rural health transformation, it's supposed to be an offset of Medicaid cuts. But really, you're going to have a lot of people that qualify for Medicaid come off for different reasons. For tribal people, we have some exemptions, but you still have authorizations. You still got 1 year authorizations. I think we're concerned about the whole state of Montana, those that are fit to be on Medicaid, right? Just falling off for those types of reasons. And I point to that in the previous redetermination, we had a lot of people that the state DPHS wasn't able to keep on there that should have been on there. One, just like all the issues you guys were talking about, is having the workforce and the infrastructure to handle that influx of people with questions. Because yeah, those are all true. 8 hours, people on there. And I don't know how you commit Medicaid fraud, but it's hard just to get on Medicaid. And for our folks that deserve to have those services, those medically frail, those going through different medical procedures, they need to be on those. And I think that's the most important thing is DPHS ready for this, because they're trying to speed this up. They want to do it now, and CMS has only released some of the methods to implement these new work requirements and different things. I think they're jumping the gun. I think because we've got the rural health at the same time going on, and it feels a little premature. And I would push back on DPHS is to wait till all of CMS guidance is out before we put this on Montanans. So that would be the first one. As far as rural health, obviously it's been a lot slower than we would expected. There's money there, but it hasn't hit to rural communities. So I think we're a little concerned about that, and then trying to do both. Like I said, there's a challenge of doing these two big projects at the very same time: rural health, and then the Medicaid, implementing the work requirements and such. So I think those, Mr. Chair, and the rest of the Business Committee, that will affect healthcare overall in the state of Montana. Also, in regards to the different pots of money there with rural health, there's CHAP. So there is, I think we encourage you guys to continue to push. It's been authorized by you guys. Now we need DPHS, we need IHS, all of our partners to implement that. And getting that SPA for CHAP is a big deal as well. So we've pushed DPHS. They're moving, but it's a lot slower than we'd like, but it's going. So that's a big one for us is CHAP. I don't know if you guys are familiar with CHAP, but I really think that will impact not only rural communities, tribal communities. So the other we have going on, Mr. Chair, is with tribal nations, we've created Red Shield 8 Nations, which is a regional healing center in Great Falls. I think an investment in that from either the BizFig money that hasn't been spent out. There's a lot of money directed towards behavioral health that hasn't been used under that HB 872. It'd be nice for that to be directed, because a lot of our tribal people, when they go through treatment, are going out of state. Most of them are in Washington, Wyoming, Idaho, those types of places. So they're not even getting treatment here in the state of Montana, which is a huge barrier. The other thing I think that's been a huge problem, and we got the police chief here as well, is our behavioral health, our mental hospital, and Warm Springs, and getting placement and working together. There's huge disconnect. Recently, we've been trying to connect, and they say we're going to, but it hasn't happened. Especially for our folks needing that higher level of care, it's not. We're not working collaboratively with our tribal partners, and we're not the only tribe that's have issues. So I'm sure this is a whole state of Montana problem, right? But I think there could be better collaboration and work with our the hospital there in Warm Springs to serve not just tribal but everybody. How much longer? Do I get another hour?
You got a lot of time.
All right.
Keep going.
I know.
I know him, so it gets
La-
me off the hook.
Last thing, I think Councilman Parisian brought up the chairman on tribal consultation. I think a real look at the state tribal consultation plan, because it's a policy. It's weak. Um, you go to state of Washington, they have an accord. There's a lot more teeth to the working relationship. There's a lot more respect towards tribal governance. In Washington, they got 42 tribes. Here, we got 8. Especially we have a lot of urban population as well. So I really think that we should take some look. I'm not saying adopt Washington's, but look at how the work that goes in. That's a yearly project there. That accord and those meetings, they're really intensive, and they do it with intent. So I think that would really help with tribal relations, because when you schedule a proposed tribal consultation, you got 6 days to respond, or whatever it may be. I think there really has to be better buy-in from the state, but I also think tribes play a part in that as well. Is like we got to make sure we're expressing what consultation is. Like Chippewa Cree tribe has said, that's not adequate consultation. So really setting out what to the state, what consultation would look like from a tribal perspective. So I think that is paramount to this relationship, because we're all tied together, right? I think they talked about the county and those different things, but I think the state and tribe, we have a lot of relationships, whether it's task orders and a real shared connection and being successful. So I think we want to continue to build on that relationship with the state, and how we could do that while preserving and sovereignty and enhancing our sovereignty. So I'll leave it about there, Mr. Chair.
The CHAP issue is really gonna be helping the tribes, not just the tribes, the Medicare and Medicare. They help all Montana, like Miles City and Glendive, those little towns too. They're really hurting too with trying to get on Medicaid, Medicare in here. Some of them's worse. Those little culverts in town, some of them, their clinics are drying up. Send a lot of little people from back east and right around Wolf Point, and they're really hurting now. They don't have nowhere to go. They want to go to the Fort Peck Reservation. That's their only option anymore. So their clinics are drying up, and they don't have the option to go in there to a clinic.
Yeah.
And now Fort Peck is kind of getting swamped with requests from those little border towns around the reservation to help, the health issues. But that's, this time next year, we're really gonna be hurting unless the midterms play out like they're supposed to.
Yeah.
That closer we might resolve this issue, but that's our only hope now, is midterms take it over, but getting off the subject here, so.
I guess, adding on to the conversation, I know that when you talked about like the impact of Medicaid redetermination, I think there's some issues that are affecting our people when it comes to Social Security office even being open. Me having to go personally use the Social Security office, get a sign that it's shut down, call this 1-800 number. Call that 1-800 number, and if they give you some options, and I had to press number 5. Press number 5. And I said, I'm going to document this because I don't want them saying that I didn't follow my process. If I can't get through, how many other people can't get through? And so to me, when I was pressing number 5, it'd say, well, what do you want? I don't know how it said it. I should have recorded it, but it was like, call it and see what it says. And when you press number 5, it'll just keeps asking to press number 5, asking what do you want? And number 5, I want to talk to customer service, and nothing went through. So I just kind of been documenting that when I go in, taking a picture of the office hours there. So how many people are getting also not off of Medicaid, but also Social Security? And this is a lifeline for our elders. Some of them are dependent on Social Security. We have people with mental health issues that are dependent on that Social Security, and to be cut off, that's almost like life or death to some people. So I think that it's critical to understand the impact of whatever happened under the Doge cuts. that if they cut that social security office and you're cutting here locally, because it takes I don't know, half hour to get to Havre. And then if they close that down, where's the next office? Great Falls, an hour and a half. Those are rural health issues. And going back to the rural health issues, you know, I listened to Joel and he talks about the challenges of running his the clinic. Rural health issues are how we do rural health in our community is that EMS. And it's also transportation, you know, because those are rural health issues. What does it take for somebody to get health care in our community? And one of the biggest problems, going back to the conversation on the Red Shield Nations, and I know it was kind of our conversation last week when we were in Great Falls, when Lisa Evers was talking about when we had that tribal consultation and kind of the disrespect of a state legislator who brought up the chat and not giving them the opportunity to speak. But also in that with conversation is that reimbursement rate for
That's right.
our tech. And I kind of want to remind you because I love that history, and I think as tribal people we need to educate and keep those stories alive, because you know there's people that come after us, and we need them to understand what we accomplished and how we did it, and it's always like never ending. We always have to fight for our land and our sovereignty and all that. But going back to Red Shield, you know, being part of a former director of White Sky Hope Center, a substance use disorder program, I was at the right table at the right time by accident, basically. And one of the things that I was, and it was under Anna Whiting Sorrell, she was the director of DPHHS. She mandated that that they work with expanding residential treatment expansion consortium. And I know she wanted Native Americans at the table for that, but it ended up going one to the Boyd Andrews, the men's Native American went there. The women's came here to White Sky Hope Center. And that encounter rate, the whole, at that time was like 168,000 if the contract was really small. But when Medicaid expansion happened, they wanted us to move to that. But we weren't ready on the tribal side to be ready to do that billing part. And now, the only reason I'm bringing that up is because how the state DPHHS worked with this Montana Addiction Service providers, which are not tribal entities. I was at the right table at the right time by accident and got included in it. But to me, if they could do that for the state programs to do this residential treatment expansion consortium, they could do it for the tribes too. Every tribe should have these 3.1, these recovery homes, these women and children's home. Because when Joel talks about Warm Springs, I happen to be on the Mental Health Oversight Advisory Council. I applied for that when I was a director. And to see the Warm Springs and hear the state MCDC, you know, the substance use treatment side, they always kind of stress to us that we have to do community-based care. Well, if you want us to do community-based care, then the state has to work with us and provide us that encounter rate to do that. And I really appreciate when you see the state really working with us, because I know I heard this morning when I was talking to my husband who was over safety at the health center, and he's dealing with a lot of the mental health crisis situations, and he worked with me under prevention, so he understands the challenges of getting people to those higher level of cares. One level of care that we don't get access to is the one in Lewistown, and I know it's for elderly people or people with disabilities or people with dementia or Alzheimer's. We have no access to that. You know, so to me, you know, those are important resources for our people too. So I just hope that, you know, that if you're able to push that, the same that happened to residential treatment expansion, that they provide these recovery homes, not just 3.1s, but these women and children's or even home-based, you know, going back to Head Start, you know, that funding that, you know, again, listening to news this morning and the threat of trying to dismantle Department of Education and put it on the state. Our people just, and I think people forget, you know, because I've, you know, hearing stories from like my dad, he grew up in Great Falls. They were segregated from the school system. They had to go to a complete separate school, and you know they didn't. And then they would have to walk down 2 blocks to go eat. then they'd have to come back and do the white students' dishes. And I thought that was kind of funny. So to me, you know, it's just that our people didn't have access to education, and yet, you know, being expected to, how do I explain it? To justify why we still need a system. And that's kind of they don't understand that historical trauma, that historical racism, that discrimination against our people at all levels. And we're still making up for that. So we're, even with this Medicaid expansion, it was a good thing for our community because we were able to bring more services and create services here, but we still need that to happen. So I guess I'm hoping that as state legislators that you're able to push DPHHS to help tribes set up more community-based services.
Any other comments or?
Anything else? No,
Please do.
I know you guys got some rough jobs up there with being the minority in the House and the Senate up there, and the representatives, but a lot of tribes look up to you guys, asking for your help. And you guys are doing a good job up there, but you're the minority. They vote red or blue. And I see you guys go back and forth, but that red one goes back and forth. I see that up there all the time. And I've been to a lot of years. We was up there, and Susan was there, and we was 4 blocks from the governor's mansion, the house, and he wouldn't even show up. All the tribes were there. That's when Medicaid was on the chopping block. He wouldn't even show up. He could have walked down there, walked there. He's only 4 blocks. All the tribes were there, and all the people that was no Medicaid was going away and going to get hurt. He wouldn't show up. And he's got a big slush fund that he could do like the other states and just give it to Medicaid. What do you want? I got another issue. It's our Salish got a marijuana tax. They're the only tribe that has it in Montana. We're trying to get on it. And that would help us out financially, like it helps you guys with mental health. And the way you guys are putting it into your communities and stuff. We're trying to get on there, but just a roadblock after roadblock. We do it and they set it up. You got to do it. We do that. And we're trying to get on the same kind of thing because we went to Salish and that's how they got it done. So we're trying that route. If we could get some of those funds out of that medical marijuana tax, we could help our people out with mental health. That's our target. Mental health really tearing us apart up here. Because of the drugs. Like on every reservation. It's terrible. That's some of them. Some of the issues. Anybody in the audience got a Neil?
Oh, are they on the agenda? Yeah, are you guys? Yeah, you want to wait for that? Then we'll. Right when your hour starts, then we'll start. Representative Fayant.
Yeah, can you tell me what some of those roadblocks are? Like if you're trying to follow what CSKT did? Are the roadblocks?
I wish our lawyer was here. You guys know her too, Leanne Montez.
Yep, we can ask him. Yeah,
I'll
we
have-
definitely want to make it happen.
I'll have Leanne get hold of Tyson and you.
Yep. If we go through, yeah, we can get you our info.
Okay.
No problem. I know Lenore has our info pretty good. Yeah. I just want to recap too. We had that what is it? The sovereignty? Oh, Pathways to Sovereignty. And we met, this past December, and then we met again last week, and Lenore was down there representing Rocky Boy. But consultation has been our number one priority for this committee since we heard it from the last time we did the visits and what we've seen. And there will be a bill coming out from this committee on consultation of what we would like to bring forward to the legislature for all tribes. And it's a real in-depth bill. And then to accompany that, there's going to be a couple other bills that are going to be kind of like following it too, that individual legislators will be bringing that might not be a committee bill, but this committee will be bringing a consultation bill forward of everything that we've heard for the last four years of visits. So it definitely is not fell on deaf ears. That one thing I also want to talk about on consultation, that folks, we missed the boat as state legislators by not, when we build legislation, we definitely do not go to tribes and talk to them about what they think that legislation should look like and how it's going to have an effect on their community. Medicaid expansion is a perfect example of that because of these roadblocks that you've talked to about, the trying to not having the workforce, not knowing how to get through the work requirements, not having the facility at these local communities. Little did they think it wasn't going to just hurt Native communities, it was going to hurt our own local communities that are not Native communities. They didn't see the influx that was going to happen in the reimbursement rate and getting that money back. Some of these facilities weren't ready for that, and they were going to be dropping out, and others were going to be raising up. So definitely what you're saying on consultation, we're seeing that when people are building legislation, it's a little behind the curve before it's implemented. Even legislators, when they're building these bills, are not talking to the departments that have to implement them. Another one that we're dealing with was the Indian fee waiver. That was one that was supposed to actually be one of our committee bills or maybe my own personal bill, and I was going to go out and say, what does communities think about this in tribal nations for descendants residents of Montana that are descendants that still can't get the fee waiver, or they're members but they're not residents of Montana, that they're going to be affected. All of this stuff was just overlooked, and the department just took it and did it by administrative rule without ever talking. So it happens all throughout this, from the top level all the way down without consultation, and consultation can be pretty easy if we really took it into practice from the state. So we definitely are hearing that. We also heard what you said about the water compact and determination of reservations. That's a fact that it definitely has been talked about. We do have to unite, and it's good that it's hearing that it's from another reservation, not directly from Confederated and Salish Kootenai tribe, that the tribal leaders are definitely uniting together to fill this coming forward. So I would take it serious. We'll do what we can do on our side. I think every council that we visited knows the effort that each of our groups put in to try to combat some of this stuff that's happening. So we hear you. We know that it's happening. And it's, as you hear it, we hear it too, because it ain't like we're always at the Capitol. We're just citizen legislators also just kind of hearing it from the grapevine of the old book face and all of the other kind of multimedia avenues and through the Mox and Telegram. So we understand that. Head Start funding will definitely be pushing back that it doesn't go to the state level. It needs to stay at the federal level and needs to have that obligation of what was in treaties and for education for our young people coming up. that definitely needs to happen. So know that on our side that we will definitely be watching that movement of them funds coming to the state instead of the same practices we've been doing in the past, and try to have the increase happen. The rural transformation bill that we talked about here, and definitely that collaboration between the rural transformation bill and DPHS and the Medicaid and Medicaid expansion definitely has to have the cogs hitting together so that they're not double billing in one form, or they're not billing at all, or they're not getting the services down to our communities. So that's something that definitely has to be watched and being taken care of. And I think that is that's what we've always seen, is that how are they collaborating these things? How does IHS and the rural transformation bill and the state funding and the Medicaid and the rate in tribes, making sure they're billing for the correct rate and making sure the funds are going to the right pots and that our services are being provided? We're definitely watching that, and it's always on the radar, and it's definitely always being heard from every tribe we go to. We're having the cogs and the wheels just ain't fitting yet, but we're hoping they'll get there. So we definitely hear what she said. And I wrote it down. I try to stay out of the what you folks want to definitely tell us and bring it back and make sure our committee hears it. Representative Weber, or Senator Weber, sorry.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. You know, or Chairman Rosette, you know, the tribes have always had the ability to tax and to tax their own citizens. But the tribes have not gotten to the point, in my opinion, to tax, to have that revenue stream. I don't know how your revenue department looks, but we have had that. And so we've entered into these revenue sharing agreements with the state so that they gather the taxes and then we get some of it back. Most of those revenue sharing agreements were done in the Schweitzer administration. That's been a while. So when the tribes set up, we go into if they could tax their own people. If you wanted, you can tax your own people. But the thing is that it was too easy to do, to just let the state do it. So I'm not sure. You can look on the website about how much you get and those revenue sharing. When it comes to marijuana, tribes can tax their own people on that. How you do it, you know, is up to the tribes. How are they going to do it? How are they going to take alcohol, tobacco, gas, and now marijuana as a tax sharing, revenue sharing agreements? But you can do it yourself. Your revenue department has to be set up to be able to get those taxes into your own coffer. So basically, the state, and we had this discussion with on the Senate floor regarding those taxes. And they don't want to let those go, those tax sharing agreements, I'm sorry. And so, because there's a lot of money that comes off the reservation into that, and we get a portion of it. But those tax sharing agreements have to be renegotiated. And if we decide not to, then the tribes have to be ready with their own revenue department to get those taxes. That was one of the things that really came up on the as a discussion on the House or on the Senate floor. Even our own people or the legislators have no idea what they are. We have more knowledge about what these revenue sharing agreements are than they do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yeah,
Our
we'll
chief
have public, oh,
our chief of staff.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Ted Whitford. I'm the Chief of Staff of the tribe, and I just want to follow up on the discussion we're having right now on the revenue share agreement for hemp or marijuana. I know the issues that we were having, or we're just getting a response from the state. I know our legal person, our Office of Attorney General, has reached out several times now with no response on trying to set up a meeting to get that going. So that's one of the main issues right now, just getting a response back on it. Right. It's been a while. And then the other thing, Senator Weber, you were talking about, you know, the tribes have the ability to tax their own members, but it's illegal here on our reservation, on our land, because we're tribal trust. So marijuana is illegal, period. So I don't know how we would tax our own members and how we identify maybe just the people who are utilizing it, but it's probably not an option for us at this point. But it's a good point. I think that's about it for now. Yeah, just on that topic. I just wanted to make those clear. Thank you.
Representative Fayant?
Mr. Chair, another one of the bills that we have in the works has to do with missing and murdered Indigenous Peoples Advisory Council. I'm not sure who your representative is on.
We just voted her in last week. She walked out of the meeting, she's gone, they voted on it.
Okay, so there used to be a program called LINK. It was looping in Native communities, and it had to do with, there was $25,000 set aside. They did a RFP for to build like a website that, you know, people could put information in. It was based out of BCC, Blackfeet Community College, and it went for a few years, but it's defunct now. So we talked with our staffer, Casey Pallister, about developing a grant program with the same acronym, only this time it'll be Local Indigenous Network and Coordination LINK grant program. Again, it's only $25,000, but it's a start to help, you know, individual reservations with local tribally led initiatives. You know, on my reservation, we have a working group. I know at Blackfeet, they have a different
Nonprofit setup.
approach, you know, and I think every reservation has a group that's working on the problem, you know, individually. So this is a bill that and I could share it with you, that we're working on. So we'd like to get your feedback on that as well.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I just, following up on that, I'm not sure how to start getting the correspondence, or if there's a process of even like, I know like when at this federal level, when you apply for these seats, you get accepted. So I don't know if I have to apply for those things, if there's a different process that I need to follow to be part of this MMIP or not.
I think that tribe, just submit your name to serve on that the state advisory council. It used to be a task force, but we changed the name to advisory council through Representative Running Wolf's bill last year to change it to an advisory council, because a lot of people thought the task force was like boots on the ground if someone went missing. The other thing we changed was we took out the Montana Highway Patrol representative and put in homicide investigator. We changed it from, it used to just be Montana missing Indigenous people. It wasn't missing and murdered. So we changed that and thus added the homicide investigator. And then
Set up the account.
oh, and we set up an account so they can apply for grant funds. So
Mr. Chair, just to add on, going back to that pathways to sovereignty, I know, I don't remember who said this, but I liked what she said, there's strength in number. And going back to the revenue sharing agreement, I think, you know, that's one of the things is that when we work separately, or if we don't share knowledge across tribe to tribe, then we kind of suffer as a community because we might not, we have to pave that road, you know, to get to what we need to do that. So I don't know if it's a possibility to consider that when you're going across the other tribe to tribe. You know, how do we get tribes to work together and to strengthen each tribal government and that strength in numbers? And I know part of the conversation too at the Pathways to Sovereignty is that you guys stress the importance of tribal council showing up when you guys present these bills are, but I guess to me, as I'd like you guys to explain to us why we need to show up. When do we show up? How do we know when we want us, you're requesting us to show up? So I think that's one of the things I was gonna ask about, you know, that issue. But also I think one of the other important things is that I know one of the things that when someone is asking what the purpose of this meeting, and I said there are 14 state legislators, Native American legislators, and that's amazing. So, and I think it goes back to voting too, and I know our community members, they need to understand the importance of voting, especially at the state level, because we have a right to how the state gets funded or the services they provide. I feel, maybe I'm wrong in that, but I know that I'm hoping that too, that we continue to strengthen tribal voting. So I just kind of wanted to leave those things, and if you could explain how you want us to show up.
Thank you, Lenore. That's a great question, and I think there's a lot more that's going to be happening on formalizing approaches to tribal councils when we get ready to have testify for bills. When we had the Medicaid expansion bill going right off, we did have tribal members. That was the very first ones, tribal leaders, that was the very first ones that got to speak. And so that was a real strategic plan about how the formula was put together of how we were gonna have speakers come up and talk about what it was. I think we did miss the boat a little bit because we were worrying about sunset, and we were worrying about access, and we were worrying about that everybody that was going to get service was going to get service, and keeping the rate to what it was going to be and all of them things. But I think what we talked about earlier today was some of the things we should have really honed down, and somebody should have been recording that stuff and bringing it forward. And I think these site visits that we're doing now is a good example of, okay, when we get ready to bring the consultation bill forward, we're going to be reaching out to the councils and saying, okay, we need people that are going to be there, that are going to talk about these bills, and these are the points we're going to have to hit on. So there will be a strategy put in place for each bill, bringing them forward, especially for our committee of when what we pass out as a consultation bill. And I let Lenore know earlier when we were in Great Falls that when these bills come forward, be the voice of the council that comes forward for them, that we can have a strong force to move it through the legislative process. And it ain't just a one and done deal. Like, them multiple visits are very important, but then as long as we don't get redundant in what we're saying and we put a strategy, and we don't need the whole council unless everybody wants to come there and they have different talking points, but we just don't want it to be like where it inundates legislators and they start glazing over, and we have the strategy put in place. And over the last couple sessions, I think we've had a really good strategy. When tribal leaders come, legislators are there to meet them, and they talk about the strategy of have it put in place. And we have different folks that are there that are making it happen. So I think that
Purchase hearing aids for all of our legislators when we go before them.
Are you saying they're getting too old in their positions? No. I hear what you're saying. I hope that covers it. Yeah. Okay. Representative Fayette.
So, last session, we had a Wednesday at noon meeting every Wednesday. It was via Zoom, and sometimes we had over 200 people on there. So that's one way to know what's coming up. I think we could do a better job this session with our staffer. We have a lead staffer that could get that communication out about what bills are coming up this week. And you know, the last two sessions, someone from Lake County presented a bill to allow non-member big game hunting on fee land within our reservation. And tribes showed up, so I appreciate you saying that you have our back on the water compact as well. Regarding the Indian vote, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I know Western Native Voice does what they do. They try to get people out, organizers, excuse me, within each reservation. The Forward Montana, they also have their group, a nonprofit that tries to get out the vote. They're hiring organizers. My tribe has a get out the vote coordinator who works during tribal elections, state and federal. So, and she does a really good job with that, but still we have a very low turnout for both tribal and state. And they, some of the reasons people say is because they don't want to be on jury duty. They think that, that's going to happen if they vote. And that's not true, that's a myth. So we do have a lot of work to do in that area, but we just need to mobilize and, do whatever we can.
Mr. Chair, I think we need to do more than just get out the vote. We need to get out and educate people at what's at stake for our communities. They don't understand what's at stake. We need to do more than just tell people go vote, because they don't know what they're voting for, a lot of people. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. It's scary. I mean, it's scary what our federal government's trying to do right now. In my mind, because I sit there and watch that news every night, and I try to turn it off and turn it off. You can't do that. You gotta stay in there, and whatever laws will help us, we gotta use them laws. We gotta use the regulations that are in place to help us and keep pushing. And I know they're gonna put us down as much as they can, any way they can. So we just gotta be able to take it and move forward. And like I said, I get frustrated, me.
Because of the recent Supreme Court decision.
Representative Ryan?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Calais decision that the Supreme Court made about redistricting. Another thing that happened during the Republican convention last week was them bringing forth legislation to redistrict and get rid of the Indian majority districts. And it's really frustrating because at the beginning of the interim, we had the American Indian Governance and Policy Institute out of the University of Montana do like a tribal 101. And I don't know how many times they said that, tribes are political entities. It's not a race-based thing. And that went over people's heads, and now there is actually I think a bill coming forward about that to do redistricting and get rid of those Indian majority districts, which some of them are affecting our districts directly.
Well, thank you. Like I said earlier, you heard it. I hope I said it back to you in what I heard and what we heard. And I think there's things that can be done a lot better done in the state. I think they are going to start issuing new hearing aids for everybody at the Capitol so that we can really hear, because some of this gets in the way of more than this. So I hear you. Tukis, we all need like 4 pair of tukis. So, thank you, and then we'll go ahead and hear from the corridor group and see what they want to say, and hope you guys stick around for that. That's all we had for that. And sound like you guys are having a big barbecue and fishing derby going on here soon, huh?
Yeah, Sunday.
Sunday. I might have to come down.
Joel's having a barbecue today down below
Where at?
at his house board.
Oh, good.
I've got to stop and check out our new youth center.
They have red wieners down there?
Oh, knowing him, probably not.
Yeah. All right, thanks.
Well, good morning, committee members and chair. I am Ann Schwend. I'm with the Department of Commerce. I'm the Planning Program Supervisor for the Community Technical Assistance Program. And I have some handouts to give you guys if you would, if that's okay.
Yes, please hand
Okay.
them out.
And then also, this is a partnership, and so I felt like it was really important that Neil Rosette, who is here. So Neil, I'll let you introduce.
Yeah, good morning. My name's Neil Rosette, and I'm the Planning and Development Director for the Chippewa Cree Tribe. And I just wanted to say one thing before Ann gets started. And I know you guys, when you go out to these reservations, you hear a lot of negative things. But there are some positive things going on as well. So I wanted to make sure you guys heard about a positive that happened here in Rocky Boy with the Department of Commerce. It's a success story, but it also is a government-to-government relations story that I'm hoping you folks, when you go back to the legislature, you talk about it. And you don't just bring them bad news, you bring them some good news as well. So anyway, I'll turn it back over to Ann.
No, this is great. So the Community Technical Assistance Program within the Department of Commerce, we work with communities to help them do land use and community planning. We're kind of a unique program within the Department of Commerce in the Community MT division, where we have 3 planners, myself among them, and we get to go out and work with communities, particularly rural communities and communities that don't have a lot of planning capacity. We have a small amount of money that comes directly from House Bill 2. It's about $350,000 a year. And we have what I describe as my bench of consultants. They've already been procured through our state procurement process, and they're planning and engineering consultants. So when we identify a community that needs a little bit of help, we have the flexibility to be able to go out and work with that community, identify a project. Oftentimes it's like growth policies and subdivision regulations and downtown master plans or trail planning or any number of planning projects. We get the consultants to reply to us and tell us if they're available and what their approach might be. And then we can commence on the project. It gives us a lot of flexibility. Well, about 1.5 years ago, someone said to me, does the CTAP program work with tribes? And I said, I don't know, but I think that would be a really good idea. And I was invited up here by Maria Valandra, who is the tribal liaison with Clearwater Credit Union, because she was coming up to talk about some financial pieces and economic development. And it was just before Neil had come on board, and I came up and I said, what kind of planning do you guys need some help with? And it was related to this Route 6 corridor project. As you guys saw as you were driving in if you came in from Box Elder, Route 6 corridor is where most of the tribal buildings are now moving, following the flood that happened in 2011. Planning on tribes, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, is a little bit different than state-based planning, right? State-based, we have subdivision laws and zoning regulations and growth policies that are required, but on tribal lands, that is not required. And so I came into this kind of eyes wide open and said, how can we help, right? What kinds of services or what can we do to help the tribe think about planning without imposing state-based regulations, but rather thinking about this as a partnership and trying to decide what would be most useful. So we contracted with the Water and Environmental Technologies, which is a planning and engineering firm out of Butte and one of our consultants, and launched into this. And as we launched into it, we realized that there were a lot of other planning projects that had occurred but hadn't necessarily been implemented. There were pieces and parts of things, and we wanted to pull all of that together and figure out how could we really be a partner and honor and respect the tribe's sovereignty, not imposing our ideas, but think about what are some of the processes and pieces that are in place that we could complement and provide some technical resources to help set up a little bit more structure. In the process of thinking about this Route 6 plan, the consultant, Megan Terry, who was very bright, realized that looking at all of the plans that had been done, I'm going to read directly out of this. This is the plan, and we have finished that. We have just about finalized it. It's in the final draft stages. This has taken us just a little over a year. It did not require a grant application or any administration from the tribe. We manage that on behalf of the community that we're working with. But one of the things that she said, she was reviewing the past plans, and she said it revealed a clear and consistent pattern. Over many years, the tribe and partners have invested significant effort in understanding infrastructure needs, economic opportunity, safety, land use, health, and long-term resilience. The plans provided valuable technical direction, but they also revealed a gap that technical planning alone could not fill. Many plans identified what should be built or improved, but fewer provided clear guidance on how development should occur in a way that fully reflects tribal sovereignty, cultural continuity, and community decision-making authority. Several plans emphasize coordination, long-term stewardship, and community well-being, yet there was not a single shared framework that could guide project partners and educate non-tribal collaborators and support consistent decision-making across departments and projects. So from that, she developed, and through many interviews with tribal members, something that's called the Tribal Partner Framework. That hearing your conversation about consultation this morning, this is land use planning based, but the idea is to first and foremost recognize sovereignty and cultural integrity and long-term planning over a 7-generation framework with respect for culture and place-based knowledge, right? So I think it has some really key pieces that might be helpful in the greater conversation. We will. Would you like it right at this moment?
I want to make sure it's covering everything.
Yeah, it probably isn't. It probably isn't. This is our first attempt. And what I would say is, as a non-tribal member, it's really trying to come in and respect the tribe and your community and this beautiful landscape here. Bring some of the knowledge and the tools that I have from state-based planning and integrate it into a framework that maybe can be more useful. The planning, across the interviews, the participants emphasized that planning is an act of stewardship carried forward across generations. Decisions made today must be measured not only by immediate benefit, but by their impact on those who will inherit the land, the culture, and the responsibility of governance. Tribes must be recognized and engaged as sovereign governments, not as stakeholders within another system. And that cultural teachings and ancestral knowledge were described not as symbolic references, but as practical guides for resilience, continuity, and long-term decision-making. So we put together this framework that creates kind of a consistent decision-making structure that reflects how tribal governance actually works. I am really excited about this project. This provides sort of the roadmap and the framework. We held workshops with agency department heads here at the tribal, here on the reservation to talk about sort of and creating a map for place type use along the Route 6 corridor as all of that development is occurring. And I'm going to let you take it from there.
Well, first of all, I think the biggest thing that I noticed from this whole process is that we didn't have to go out to the state and ask for assistance. The state came to us and asked for it. Anne made it a point, and she kind of bugged me a couple times, but I finally listened. Just like Luke said, I didn't have my hearing aids on when I first started, but because I didn't believe it. I couldn't, based on previous history, I didn't believe it. But as we got to talking, and she told me what her mission was, and the fact that tribes never really accessed this program within the State Department of Commerce, I start thinking, hey, what can we use them for? What can we use their resources for? And Route 6, and like she mentioned, that Route 6 is the spine of our reservation now. That has our healthcare, our college, our tribal government is going to be there soon, next year, in fact. A lot of different, our Mio Youth Center, all kinds of different developments going on in that corridor. Basically, everything with this that's associated with just this tribe pretty much will be on that corridor. So when I got that call and when we started collaborating, and I'm telling you right now, it was a collaboration, it was a partnership. They took into account our culture, and they asked those questions of us. How can we make sure that your culture is incorporated into anything that we do? Now, she put together that document that she gave you. That to me is a framework for government to government relations and how the state can, direct their departments. This is how you work with the tribe, and it's successful. This is a success story. We want you to take that success story back to the legislature and tell them this story, that there is some positives going on out there. You guys probably all hear negative, and there's a lot of negatives as well. You'll admit that. I'll admit that. I think everybody will. But there are opportunities as well, and this was an opportunity for us. For the state, for example, number one, it demonstrates that there is the opportunity for government collaboration. Also, it helps ensure that public investments are guided by sound planning. It also supports economic development and infrastructure on some of the poorest lands, our people within your state. And that creates a replicable model. And that model you have in your hand right now. So with us, it supports long-term growth and development. It improves coordination between our tribal departments and our partner agencies. It positions us to compete statewide and nationally, and it enhances public safety, transportation, housing, economic opportunity for our tribe. So again, I encourage you to take those documents with you, because at the end of the day, it's one of the more bright spots that I've seen in terms of state tribal relations.
Thank you, Neil. That was kind. Thinking about that Route 6 corridor, and you have more of these to pass out, don't you?
I already gave them to that young gentleman back there.
That it's about $100 million worth of investments are being made into that Route 6 corridor. And I think that there are a whole lot of pieces and parts to understand in building. I mean, it really is going to be building the new town center. I don't know what we don't know what to call it, but that's where most of the development is occurring. And so we were trying to think about not only what does that development look like in creating a community where you have residences and you have a lot of the tribal offices, and we want to see economic development, but also safety in transportation along that road, and the walking paths and lighting, and ways that community members feel like they are connected and able to move around well within that corridor. It's kind of a long section, but I think that it's going to be a cool community hub. And so we were trying to pull all those pieces together and create some general maps that talk about place types without doing, and I kind of hate to say the word, people get a little, itchy about zoning when you say zoning. It's not zoning, but it's getting the community together to have an idea about where is it best to put the residential, where do we put the residences, and where do we have the economic development, and how do you think about that in a master plan? So that's what we have created here. We're hoping that, and it also has a process for how the departments, how new projects come forward and how they approach the planning department for coordination and consultation on that before things are built, because there have been some missteps sometimes along the way, or even people have identified certain parcels of land where there were going to be multiple projects.
Yep.
Hmm. And
People
so,
were stepping on each other's toes, not knowing, there was a housing project planned here, but it shouldn't have been planned there because there was another project that had been planned there. So we were wasting money basically by having, one department, spending money for an EA on this piece of property when this other department was planning something else for that property.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's actually a land use plan for that whole corridor.
right. It is a
And
land
it's
use
something
plan.
that, it's something that we've never had on that corridor. We've had some master plans put together, and Rocky Boy Health Center did a great job
Yeah,
on their master plan, but their master plan was just for that little area where the clinic and Meos Youth Center and all that stuff goes. So it expanded on that, and instead of just that one little spot, it's the whole corridor now, 10.2 miles. Yeah.
Before I got in,
Yeah.
right.
You mean the plan for our people, that one?
it was for that corridor.
Yeah.
The FEMA,
Yeah, the FEMA plan, yeah.
right. So we were building on that as well.
So right now, that plan is, like she said, draft form. It has been distributed out to all of our departments, including the tribal government, for comment, review. And then hopefully in July, we'll be presenting that to the business committee for their approval of that plan. After they've had a chance to review it and we've got comments back, so. One of the great things that happened, and we put in a grant application just recently for that whole corridor for the highway. And it's a build grant, so $25 million grant to upgrade that highway, actually make it safe. And the Department of Commerce wrote a letter of support for that project for us. So we had state, federal, and county support for that project, which made that application much stronger. So we should know by the end of June, maybe first part of July, on how that application scored within the system. There's $150 billion available, so we believe we have a good shot at getting that grant. So.
Well, and I would say we were able to pivot quickly for getting that letter of support because we have this relationship built. And I think first and foremost, the relationships are really important. And I keep hearing you talk about consultation. I'm thinking about other projects that we have around the state, and I have had counties and smaller communities say, how do we consult with the tribe? And in my past work, I did a lot of watershed and landscape level planning. And I think about natural resources, and they don't follow sort of the jurisdictional boundaries that, counties do or that reservations do. We should all be caring for our natural resources. And I think the way that we're using the land and our resources, we shouldn't stop at some line, but that there needs to be really good consultation that's happening across all of the managers and people that are on the land that are using that. So thank you. We
If you
appreciate
think
your
about it,
help.
anything that helps a tribe helps the state of Montana. And if we
Absolutely.
succeed, the state of Montana succeeds. One of the other things I wanted to mention is that through this process, she has made the Chippewa Cree Planning Department a more effective entity. Just because of the process that we went through, I learned a lot, and I'm a planning director, but I learned a lot from these folks. And I could see this plan being used for everything that we do here in Rocky Boy, just the process itself. So I just want to make sure that you guys spread that word back when you talk to your legislature and when they're thinking about funding these types of programs within the state. Throw your support behind it. Throw that document at them and say, look, these are successful. This is what we need to do. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks. Don't take off too fast. I know we got a lot of questions, but I just want to turn it over. Is there any public comment in a room on this topic on the Route 6 corridor master plan? Go ahead. Just introduce yourself again.
Ted Whitford, Chief of Staff for the Chippewa Cree Tribe. Just following up on Neil's comments and first of all, I think Neil was a godsend when he was put here as the planning director. I mean, he's very thorough as you can see from the documentation that provided to you today. But on another note, I'd like to mention that the Chippewa Cree tribe is entertaining the, I guess, the notion of moving the county line. As you know, the Chippewa Cree Indian Reservation is located on two counties, Hill and Choteau County. Earlier in the year, or maybe it might have been a year ago, the tribe took action against Choteau County and won through voting. I think it was through voting rights. But that's where it kind of ticked off the notion of possibly moving that county line so that we're all Hill County, which is what we're proposing or looking into right now. Nothing's in place right now. We did actually meet with the county commissioners for both Hill and Choteau County, and a number of tribal representatives. And a lot of questions came out during that time, and some of the things that I can remember right off are, of course, the funding. You know, additional funding would be required for Hill County because of taking all of those residents onto Hill County. The voting rights, of course, would be affected. I don't think there would be much effect on schools, because essentially the funding follows the students no matter where they go. But that's something that maybe the state will be entertaining, and I don't think this has ever been done in the state of Montana. So it's new to them, and from what I understand is, first of all, if the tribe is going to go down this road, they would have to approve it. The county commissioners would have to put it on ballot for vote through their members, and then I think they'll take it from there. I just wanted to mention that. One of the other things that I wanted to point out is the opportunity zone for that corridor that Neil mentioned. It is not in Choteau County. That part is in Choteau County, but the opportunity zone is not part of that because it's in Hill County. Or excuse me, because it's in Choteau County. So it kind of goes around that corridor. So it's really not eligible for certain fundings. I think that would.
In Choteau County?
That Route 6 corridor is in Choteau County. In fact, pretty much the majority of that 10.2 miles that he's talking about. So that might be another plus for us. But I just wanted to put that on your radar that this may or may not be coming down or up to your level. But thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other public comment? We'll go through all the public comments.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I was just wanted to add on.
State your name.
Oh,
again.
sorry. Joel Rosette, CEO, Rocky Bay Health Center. Mr. Chair, I just wanted to further comment on the planning that has taken place with Route 6. If you came in from the Box Elder section, you would see the growth of the tribe and the work that's being done. This self-governance tribe, over 30, we're going on 32 years. There's been ups and downs, but I feel like as self-governance tribe, we've taken pride in this planning phase. But working with our partners, it's important, like the state. So we really appreciate them coming in and being a part of that. But continuing to allow tribes to build on the successes. We know what we need to do, but having the ability, like in self-governance, where we get the compact and we're responsible for it from there. Same with these types of working relationships. We could see, so we could take our future in our hands, but also having the support of the state at different levels to make sure that whether it's funding, whether it's relationship building, technical support, I think that's been apparent in this situation. So I'm really proud of it. And just to go back to our leadership too has been great. And it even goes back further, back in the 70s, I think Neil brought up our plan for our people. Our people were thinking about this when we took over healthcare before self-governance was a reality. And I always have to acknowledge our leaders, those ones in the 70s really had that thought that this is where we're going to go. Are we all the way there with some of the things they acknowledge? No, but we've definitely made growth and a part of that. So I think with the support of this Route 6 and continuing, you'll see a brighter future for our tribal membership and people returning home. I think too is the next thing with housing and all these other challenges we face on trust land. I think that's important. And open up those pathways to work with tribes, state, which ways can the state work with tribes to further our efforts. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. And then before you close the door, I had a couple IHS or HHS, DPHS comments that I wanted to add in. One is this tribe's looking at a long-term care. We face some challenges though from the state side. There will be a certificate of need. Our tribal membership, we kind of get lumped in with the county on that certificate of need in the area. And they're going to say you have the need, you don't need one. But our membership has to go 25 miles one way, 10 miles, sometimes 35 miles for these long-term care. Here.
Certificate of need, have you guys submitted one ever before?
No, but we've heard there's a timeline and it has to be ready, shovel ready, or it has to be turned on and all that. So we want to make sure we're priming DPHS, the state, that this is coming. We are business planning phase.
Never denied.
No.
Okay.
But we've been told that
Yeah, it's tough, I know.
they told us that there is no need when we've had discussions. So, and that was a few years back. So we disagree with that. I think that's a big one for us. That's our big project we want to make sure we have in place here for our elders, is to be able to have that
And that's
on.
for that long-term care facility.
Correct.
Yep.
Yep, with the rate. The other one, we are traditional healing. We've talked about it. I think our next plan though is to do it local, get our leadership, but also our traditional healers on board. I know not all tribes are up for this, but it would be under Medicaid billing. It's been approved by CMS in 4 states. This is something we will continue to navigate because we believe that our traditional ways, language, ceremonies, all those medicines are a part of a healthy tribal member. So we will continue to move those along. And just some smaller ones. With CHAP, even though CHAP is not operational, there's a couple things that I think DPHS could do to help tribal healthcare systems. One is CHR rates being a little more competitive. Those would be nice to have back, community health representatives. And then the other one is peer support. We've seen different states that have offered peer support at a higher rate, and it's really helped behavioral health. And I think those rates would really help administer better services and more services in our community. So those are just a few of the items I wanted to add into my discussion. That's all, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Any other more public comment?
Mr. Chair, I have some comment. Just going back to the model that the Department of Commerce and Neil talked about, I think that's a replicable, you could replicate that model. And I think it's important in other areas, especially around, maybe ICWA or maybe our social services departments. We, under the tribe, we started a 477 program, which is able to consolidate these human services programs. But I know that we didn't do all of it, and I would say that, one of the departments is social services, I'm hoping down the road, or even Head Start. I know that there's a federal or tribal group that's working to put 477, or put Head Start on a 477. I don't know if you're familiar with the 477 program, but what it allows us to do is consolidate all these programs, put it under one, where we're not, managing grants is difficult. You have to do all this reporting, then you gotta do carryover. It makes the reporting easier, and you're able to consolidate these funds. And one of the ones is Head Start. If we weren't able to spend it, we wouldn't have to turn it back. We're able to keep it within our community. But I think that we also need to support the state there. And I remember one of the conversations with BIA is that, we are state citizens, in that if we're struggling with our social services department, we could still work with the state to take this role, and we do the healing part of the role. They do maybe the referral and assessments, that part. But we haven't yet to figure that out. I know that we have Heidi at the governor's office, and she's aware of the systems care issues, but I would love to see this model be replicated even with those issues, because you have, and again, it was a conversation we had at Pathways to Sovereignty. Our tribal governments are not funded to the level that we need to operate and expected to operate it by others. The state does get all the funding to operate their tribal government. We have to tap into them, and so I'm hoping that you take this idea and that you're able to even have DPHHS, or I know it's happening though, because Department of Commerce, thank God they're partnering with the tribes, but I heard at Department of Labor today, again, my husband being a safety officer, they're having behavioral health crisis happening quite a bit. He called Department of Labor, they're coming in to do technical assistance for free. So even just that makes a big difference. So again, I think this is, thank you for sharing that model.
Thanks. Any other public comment? Okay, committee?
For Mr. Chair, for Mr. Whitford,
Okay,
please.
turn on your,
Okay.
Senator Weber.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chair. For Mr. Whitford, please.
Mr. Whitford. Uh-oh, Ted.
I'm not that scary. Mr. Whitford, you talked about basically altering the county boundaries for voting purposes, or?
No, Ted Whitford, actually, Chief of Staff. No, that's actually wasn't the reason for moving the county line. The main reason was mainly for funding purposes is what we were kind of looking at. We're still researching the possibility of doing just that, but it wasn't really for voting purposes.
Follow up, Mr. Chair.
Follow up.
Mr. Whitford, I am looking at Blackfeet. Okay, so Blackfeet has two sections of the reservation that fall into Pend Oreille County. And looking at Title VII of the Montana Code annotated, Chapter 2, Part 28, and you can just look at this. I can give it to you later, but okay. But to alter a county boundary, and I sit on the Senate Local Government Committee. I'm the vice chair. And to alter a county boundary is for public safety purposes. So Pend Oreille County doesn't offer public safety like police, snow removal, road work, or anything to those two sections of the Blackfeet Indian Reservation. And so it can easily be done under the Montana Code annotated, because they don't. The only drawback is that you need 25 registered voters to make this happen from that area. Us that live in Glacier County, the majority of the reservation that live in Glacier County, cannot do that. It has to be coming from those people that are affected, and it's right in the code right here. So I'm just kind of thinking on what you're trying to do, if we can help in that area. But basically, to alter a county boundary for public services, for public safety purposes, basically, is what I'm more familiar with. But anytime we can help. The other thing is that those people, then Glacier County, they go petition Pend Oreille County, and then Pend Oreille County has only 10 days. There's really limits. It moves pretty fast when you start doing this. And then they'll take a vote and say, no, we want to kick that reservation off the line, back into there. And then that's when Glacier County, us citizens of Glacier County will say, yes, we want them. So it's a pretty fast process according to the Montana Code annotated, but I would like to help you.
Very good. I really appreciate that.
Okay.
And thank you for those comments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, one more question. Just
Yep.
because of the lawsuit that happened between the tribe, was it NARF that helped us sue the county? And I think the way the lawyers explained that our tribal citizens had the right to access funding. To me, my question would be, what funding did we miss out, on? So that's the only question I have on that.
Yeah, that would be a good question too. That would be up to some lawyer that would have to figure out what that was in the past. Was that settled? That was settled, right? Yep. And them damages should already been assessed in that, what fundings they might have missed out on, so. That's the best answer I could give. I'm not giving a full answer, but that would be a really good follow-up of how many years they've missed out on all of that. So, any other questions from the committee? First, I want to applaud the council for this Route 6 corridor initiative and taking in charge of it. I do have a question for Ms. Schwend. Yeah, is your mic on? All right.
Yes, now it is.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure. I'm not trying to be stickler, but I just want everybody to hear what we're going to talk about. No, I'm just kidding. You know that you said you were allocated 350,000 from the state legislature to implement the CTAP. For this particular assistance that you helped with Rocky Boy, how much of that was used up for this?
Sorry, I don't have the final number in front of me because we have a lot of projects all over the state. But I think it was around $50,000.
That's pretty good.
Right, and I have deliberately tried to keep those low so that we can work all over the state because we have a lot of need, you know, in a lot of rural communities. But we would be excited to be working with other tribes as well, and that's annual.
Follow up for myself, is there, when you were implementing and helping building this plan, do you think it was substantial work and it costed a full FTE to help develop a process of consultation out of your department?
Okay, I'm not exactly clear.
Yeah,
what
okay,
you're
the only reason
asking.
I'm saying this is there's all these little beautiful gem pockets of these tribal frameworks and these consultation nuggets happening all over in the state departments. Do you think it was substantial in the amount of money that was taken up for this consultation process or this consultation framework that you guys are developing internally?
So the tribal partner framework actually was not our original intent. It was when we started working with the tribe, and as a non-tribal person, I think we're always a little confused about how to do it, honestly. And it was because we were able to come in and sit in on another process that was happening for economic development that Hummingbird Collective was. They invited us to come and sit in on the community meetings. And as we looked through all of the other plans that had been done, we thought, boy, people that are coming from the outside are not really thinking about the sovereignty and about the way that they are consulting with the tribe. And so this became just a piece. The larger project was really doing the mapping and going through all of the old plans. But there is also a video that goes with this that the consultant developed, and then they presented that at both the Montana Association of Planning Conference as well as the National Planning Conference in Detroit just about a month ago. That was really well received. And I just feel like it's something like there are nuggets in there that can be really useful. Is this the exact product? Probably not. It was not a large part of the work that we did, but I think that there's potential to take that and use some of it to build out. Does that help answer?
Right on the money, because what I'm trying to like dig for is if there was something similar in this kind of format or something that became a bill or a law, would it help your department work with tribal communities?
It would be very helpful. And
Okay.
I think not just our department, I think I think that state agencies often are stuck and they don't really understand how to even approach or how they can be, they come in, I feel like and I'm not trying to be disparaging, but I feel like they often sort of come in and do something and then step away or not really think about how the project that they're working on should be integrated into all of the other projects that are happening and, you know, the tribal council or the business council, and they don't know how to do that. So I think it would be really helpful. I think Commerce has been pretty good with working with the tribes, and our business division, you know, has an entire bureau or section that's, you know, dedicated to working with tribes. But yes,
Yeah,
I
and
think
that-
there's a need for it.
And that's what we're seeing, that there's these little pockets, but they're not formalized all the way through each of the departments. And I applaud you guys for going through that. And you kind of hit one more thing. So what do you feel happens when you don't have an avenue and you say departments feel or processes get stuck? Then what happens?
I think that part of this is my personal opinion.
Good, that's what we
is
want.
is that the cultural differences sometimes feel like a divide, and I'll just use myself and say I have state-based planning statutes. I mean, we are in code for trying to help communities understand and enforce the state-based land use laws. Those don't apply to tribes, right? So if I come in and say, hey, you guys need to do zoning, or you need to develop subdivision regulations, or you need to do this exactly the way the state does, I think I'm missing the point, right? And I think that instead, having a better understanding of coming in and listening and saying, what do you need? How are you doing it now? How can I bring some of the knowledge or tools or technical assistance that I have and offer those, but not require them, and not do planning in the way that is done traditionally outside of reservation lands. So if I use that example and I think about other projects, whatever they are, if non-tribal people, consultants, are coming in and they're doing a project without developing the relationships and taking the time to learn and understand what is really needed first before they start the project, or understand what has been done historically and integrate those previous plans, then I think they tend to be one-off sometimes. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
right on.
Okay.
And that's I just wanted that to be something that's heard by the people in the public and throughout the world, that
Right.
it will help. It's
Good.
needed.
Yes.
There's a breakdown.
Relationships are important.
Nothing gets done. It stalls because of a fear and a not knowing how to move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. I always am impressed with Rocky Boy. From the distance, everybody hears about Rocky Boy until you get entrenched in the work that Rocky Boy Council, and you allow what this council as a compact tribe has done has been light years, and is really a shining star in Montana for the work that you guys have done. I always leave here thinking, man, them guys really got some things going on, and I get jealous because of all the good things, to operate in such a good manner and make good things happen.
We need a good dry meat man like you guys.
Ah, we don't want to give you everything. We gave enough already. Well, thanks. We'll have lunch now.
Yeah.
And then we'll go on a tour at 12:15, maybe a little bit later till we finish eating. And then we'll go look at at 1:30, the Chippewa Cree Tribal Buffalo Pasture. Another one you guys are doing awesome work on. Thank you.
I was trying to get you guys some, we're processing our own buffalo. And the first time they gave me some of that jerky yesterday, boy, it was good as that.
Wow. Good. Yeah. Well, thank you.
But one more comment.
Yeah, go ahead, Chair.
Our Hill County commissioners,
Yeah.
we have one that comes to our tribal meetings every month.
Wow.
She shows up.
First one ever, that I've ever seen out here.
Is she a tribal member?
No.
Wow.
From Hill County.
We got a good relationship with her, I mean,
She shows up every month for our council meetings.
Good. That's a big bonus.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thank you, Representative Nelson, Senator Weber, This is Fan, and thank you, Tyson, for showing up today.
Yeah, you bet. We'll adjourn and then we'll do the tour, and then tomorrow we go to Fort Belknap. If you guys want to go to Fort Belknap with us, jump in. We're doing a road show. And then we'll adjourn and then re-adjourn again at 10 a.m. tomorrow at the Fort Belknap Indian Community Tribal Council Chambers.